you've got all these case studies, which we're really impressed, and I really love the sophistication for any type of a high-end therapist or doctor that is promoting the product. What's your favorite X39 case study that maybe we'd all really like to hear about?
There's a few. I would have to say my favorite, if I had to pin one down, would be the first blood study that we did. That's one of those aha moments where you say, okay, I created this thing. We put it through some preliminary testing. It shows there's a bioelectrical effect. But the moment of truth is it going to elevate this peptide in the blood or not? Because then you find out you really have something or you don't. So we had done an initial pilot study, and that's posted on our website. And we found out, in fact, that it does elevate copper peptide to statistical significance. And then we went back and we did a 60-person double-blind placebo-controlled study. Again, we hit statistical significance. And so those were pretty exciting. And it was 18 months to develop the protocols for measuring copper peptide in the blood. They didn't exist. We had to contact Lauren Picard, who was the discoverer of copper peptide. And he couldn't really provide us with sufficient guidance on how we wanted to measure it. So it was a long journey to do that first study on X39, and it was a huge relief to find out, okay, we're not imagining what we're seeing. This is really elevating copper peptide.
Wow, that's incredible.
That blood study showed other things, didn't it, David? I think I read about that in the story of X39, that book that I share with so many of you all.
Right. Yeah, there were a number of things that came for that. The first thing is, in the blood study, we wanted to measure both GHK and GHK-Cu. And that would tell us a lot about how the patch is working. And both GHK and GHK-Cu have beneficial metabolic effects in the body. And what happens is that there's a number of really interesting things here. Of course, people have copper and iron in their blood. And what happens with X39 is that it first elevates GHK, and then GHK has a very high affinity for binding with copper. So it will bind with that copper. And one interesting thing about it is, because of the ratio of iron to copper in the blood, this is especially beneficial for men in that it can help to keep high iron levels in check in the blood. And that's actually very important, because as men age and their iron levels tend to be a little bit higher than women, that extra iron can cause free radical damage in the body and lead to things like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease and arthritis. It's really bad. So copper peptide is able to regulate, through mobilization of copper, the levels of iron in the body and reduce, it's actually through ferritin, and it ends up reducing oxidative stress. So yeah, that was one of the things that we learned in the initial blood study. Then, of course, the urine studies that we did revealed tremendous amounts of information on how X39 is increasing the metabolic rate of different amino acids in the body. And this, of course, is important in formation of new collagen, which improves wound healing, reduces the appearance of lines and wrinkles, increasing metabolism of leucine, which is necessary for muscle protein synthesis, among some other things. And we even found that X39 in those studies was increasing GABA. And that explains why people wear X39 and all of a sudden the quality of their sleep is improving.
Oh, that makes sense. That's cool.